Hello to everyone. We came back. I am again with you, Grandmaster Tornike Sanikidze from Georgia. And we have new topic with white. First move d4 whole repertoire. So today we will start Queen's Gambit declined variation because I believe that, okay, this is one of the famous and historical variation in chess. If you check world champion games, you will realize that this opening was one of the best in top games. I will not tell you all the matches, but you can check many grandmasters and many world champion games with this variation. You can check Capablanca's game, Alyoshin's, Eivel, Lasker, Smyslow, Botvinnik, and you will realize that in their matches this variation was one of the most popular. I was thinking which line to show you, as I'm with white, play d4 always, and in Queen's Gambit declined I have many variations played, and I like some of them very much, and I choose one of the best which I loved very much, and in my classical games I played 3 times this variation, and all 3 times I managed to win the games. So let's start. d4, d5, c4, e6, knight f3, knight f6, knight c3, bishop e7. So this is Queen's Gambit declined variation. Here sometimes I play bishop f4, sometimes bishop g5. Today we will discuss the line with bishop g5. Here the main move is castle, and sometimes black like to start with h6. So same thing will happen after castle e3 h6. The main line of course is bishop h4 here, but we will check today bishop takes f6, bishop takes f6 variation, which happens also after h6. So after h6 we take on f6, take on f6, we play e3, and after castle we will get the same variation like if he starts first h6. So here white has many variations like rook c1, queen c2, queen b3, c takes d5, and many lines, but I liked and I played queen d2. So here what is unusual if you compare this Queen's Gambit decline with another Queen's Gambit decline positions, normally black always wait to white before they will play bishop e2 or bishop d3, and then they take on c4. So that's why if black does not know opening very good in this position, they play any other move, but they don't take d takes c4 because it's not natural move. You should know this opening very good to play this move, and it is the best move from black side in this variation. I believe it. So before we will check d takes c4 variation, I would like to show you some of my games and some, of course, the lines and variations what I checked and what I analyzed before. So first my experience and first my game on this line, it was played in 2013. I was with white, this of course I played this variation, and my opponent was German player 2317 international master Mons Leon, who became grandmaster afterwards, and he's very talented, very good chess player. And he played very natural move. He played b6 here, so long castle and bishop b7. And here I took on d5. This is the main line. After b6, white takes on d5. And normally black likes to take in this position with pawn. According to the computer, the best move here is bishop takes d5, but it's not easy to make on the board if you don't know this opening. But still, after bishop d5, e4 comes, and when bishop goes on b7, white can play, for example, queen f4, the plan h4, g4, g5, which gives slightly better position for white. So my opponent took ed and I played h4. So what is the idea of move h4? Hold this variation with bishop f6 and queen d2. The idea is to play g4 and g5. So h4 first, then g4 and then g5. And it's very difficult from black side here to make right move. Again, I'm telling, if your opponent doesn't know these positions very good, very few players can play here g6, I think. Why? Because after h4 comes, it's very unusual to play g6 like under h5. Yes, normally when already g6 is on the board in some positions, white plays h4 and h5 to try to open. And here was first white played h4 and then black played g6. But still, this is the best move. And why? Because white idea is to open any line of king side, h or g. So if white will play now g4, bishop goes on g7, and if I will put h5, then black will play g5, and black will play, if white will play g5, black can play h5. So this is the idea, to close h and g line. Of course, in this case, we don't play g4 if our opponent will guess the move, and if he knows these positions and he plays g6, we will not play g4. We will play here two candidate moves we have. One is, which is possible, of course, it's not computer line, but it's very interesting move, h5, g5, and then to push the bishop on d3, on b1, and queen d3 or queen c2, and to use this diagonal. It's very interesting. And of course, we can play same position without h5, computer's favorite move here, knight e5. And why? Because when he tries to make pressure on e5 and he plays knight d7, we have f4 move. We protect our knight on e5, and it's very difficult for black to make any kind of move here, because white plan is clear: bishop d3, g4, g5, or g4 or h5, and to attack on king side. And for black is very difficult because they have very passive pieces. So in my game, when I played h4, my opponent played very natural move c5, because he wants to make some kind of count play. Normally when Queen's Gambit decline variation, white is playing long castle. This is one of the typical moves, c5, to open c line to get some kind of count play. But here I played g4, he played g6, but it's a bit late. He should play g6, one more move before, as I told you, because there he had chance to close both h and g line. But here not, because I play g5 and I will open minimum one line. So he took on g5, but if he will not take on g5, for example, and if he goes bishop g7, then I have move h5. So I will open minimum one line, and it's enough for make very dangerous attack on king side. If he takes hg, I have two opportunities. I can take on g6, I think, hg, and after hg, play knight e5, for example. Or just to play bishop d3, and to make more pressure, then to put this rook on dg1, and to attack g5, g6, so white has really dangerous attack. Okay, my opponent took hg, I took with knight, but probably better was to take with pawn, because after I analyzed, it was better, because okay, bishop g5, we will transpose what happened in the game. But for example, if he will not take on g5, and if he will play move bishop g7, then white has very nice move, knight e5. This I didn't know before the game. I checked it after game finished. The idea is that black cannot take on e5 and play d4, because here is the move e4. So it closed this diagonal, and black is not able to take dc at all, because queen takes d8 and we will win the game. And if black will try to come with knight, then there is the move queen f4, and queen comes on h4, and it's some kind of checkmate ideas. And in the end, if king comes here, we can play bishop a6 or any other move. And yeah, this typical plan. I hope all of you know this idea with rook sacrifice, and when queen comes here, and then rook h1, and it's almost checkmate, Okay, queen g5, but then I can back on h6, so it's totally winning position. So this I analyzed after the game. I had no variations here before the game. That's why hg was better. But as I told you, I took on g5 with knight. He took bishop g5, so I transposed the same position. Probably better was for him to play knight c6, not to open h line, and then I was thinking to play some kind of f4 and then open h5. This was my plan. Sacrifice the pawn on d4 and then manage to play h5. But okay, he took directly on g5, bishop takes g5, and then after bishop takes on g5, I take hg. He took with queen on g5 and f4, queen f6, queen h2. So now my attack becomes very dangerous, as I'm going to make checkmate, queen h7, and he played rook e8. So he gave the way for his king to move on f8. So I make next move f5, which helps me to open g line, because if he tries to take with queen, then he will get checkmated in one move. So he tried to take on pawn and to make still some conplay, but after I played fg, I don't care about the piece. I can sacrifice it. Look at the position. King is very weak. I put now rook f1 on rook g1 and will totally open black king. And look the black pieces. Rook on a8, bishop on b7, and knight on b8. Totally outplayed. So it's easy for white to win this position. Okay, it was his last try. He played rook c8 with the idea rook c1. But I pushed queen h7 and I played rook f1. Of course, I calculated the move rook c1 check. I take, king takes, bishop c2, bishop b1. Okay, once he played with king, gf, and now f8, double, triple check is coming. Okay, he has one more move like queen c3 check, but it's not perpetual, because after queen c3 check, I can play king d1, and there is no more checks, and I don't see, I think there is no other moves. So after queen c3 check, king d1, he resigned. Yes, so this was my first experience in this variation, and yeah, okay, I won. And next game we go back now. So we go back. Yeah. Okay. Now, instead of b6, we can check the move, what happens when c6 comes. This is also typical move, like protect d5 pawn, and the black plan is to play knight d7, then take on c4 and play e5 or c5. These two move b6 and c6 is very logical. So I continue still castle. He played knight d7 and h4. I always like start with h4, because in the case this attack h4, g4, g5 will not work, I mean if some position change happens, then if you start with g4, you can always do something like attack in the center, and after some exchanges here, or after cd, ed, this g4 is very unusual, and it's under attack always when, for example, knight goes or something like that. G4 is always under attack, so I prefer, if I get some kind of unclear position, that I have the pawn on h4. So that's why I start almost always h4 here, and my opponent played e5. So this game was played, by the way, in European Men Championship in 2017 in Minsk. I was with white, and my opponent was Davtayan from Armenia. Here it is like pawn sacrificed. He gave me pawn to make some kind of open position with two bishops and to make con play. But after d, c, b, c and queen c2, I want to jump with my knight, so he have to move the queen, and then I played queen e4, rook b8, f4. Now I want to take here and take here when black knight will move. So he played queen b4 like con play, and he wants to make checkmate in one move. But I played rook d2, knight went on g4, knight takes c6, and okay, I got next pawn. Here, after these exchanges, I gave one pawn back, but of course I calculated that this position should be winning, and I just improve my bishop's position, and f5, because if he plays now knight takes g2, here is bishop g4, like I'm attacking the rook and attacking the knight. So that's why he played first f5. I played rook g1 to protect the pawn, king g7 and g3. So I have pawn up and better endgame. So slowly I improve my rook's position, and knight b2. This tactic, of course, I saw, and here bishop h5, counterattack on f7. So he tries now to make some kind of checkmate ideas, and it's very dangerous, by the way, because black is going to play rook c b8, and then he wants to play rook b1 checkmate. And you should not play bad move rook c1, because still this is working. But okay, I played the right move, of course, rook a3, which attacks the knight. I mean, it not gives rook c b8 because I take on c3. And otherwise, I don't allow rook b8. He played knight e4, but now my bishop came, and after knight d2, I managed to exchange one rook. And after that, of course, position is just winning, because my a pawn is just unstoppable, and the rook a1, and it's going, the knight is cutted, and I have two extra pawns. So this was my second game on this line, and the third one we will see also a bit later. Now I want to discuss with you the move c5, which is also very interesting, and let's say some kind of logical thing is after move c5, because there is the bishop on f6, and they are trying to open dark square bishop. But the problem is that I take on d5, and now what happens? If black will take ed, I will just take the pawn, and then black will get the problem on d5 pawn. So it's isolated pawn, it's weak pawn, and everything together, you know. So this position seems very good for white. That's why after cd, normally black takes here cd, knight d4 and ed5. So here you should know this kind of positions. Otherwise, it's not too easy to play with white too. Because, for example, if you play some normal human move bishop e2 after knight c6, computer likes black's position, and it's logical. Why? Because knight on d4 is under pressure, bishop, knight is attacking, queen is going to come on b6, and if you take on c6 and if you get this kind of position, it's not good, because black has open line, queen can come here, bishop is shooting from here, and two bishops in this open position is very dangerous. So that's why after c5, cd, cd, knight d4 and ed, it's a very important moment to make right move to get advantage. And this right move is bishop b5, which close black possibilities to play knight c6. Now, if you try to attack the bishop and to make him go back, you only help white to bring the bishop on b3, and d5 pawn becomes more weaker and no time for playing knight c6. I just take the knight. So this position is almost winning according computer for white side. That's why a6 b5 plan is not good. If bishop d7, here is difference advantages, so you can just take on d7 and play better position. And also there is some kind of interesting line with knight takes d5, bishop takes d4, and bishop takes d7, but I think here is some kind of bishop e3 or like that, and it seems to be draw. So maybe here is the best, yeah, to take on d7 and just to play for advantage, you know. Yeah, it's better position for white, that's why I'm telling. So what is the main move here from black side? Of course, this move is queen d6. And again, if white will play some natural move, which seems to be like castle or something like that, then knight c6 comes, and again, black has no problem at all. But here, move, I like very much what white plays. I played it. It was some rapid game also. I managed to win here, rook c1, and my opponents very often they play blunder knight c6, and I will explain why knight c6 is blunder. After rook c1, the best move from black side is rook d8 to protect the queen. Maybe you can say why to protect the queen, but after knight c6 line, I show you, you will understand. I will take here with knight bc, and here is very nice move, knight e4, attacking the queen, so you are not able to take the knight because you will lose the queen. You should move the queen somewhere, then I take on f6, and you see why white played rook c1, because now it's possible just to take the pawn. Or rook, bishop takes, so I prefer to take with rook, and white has better position. You check this position with computer without my help, but this is very nice trick, rook c1. So if you do here not right move, rook d1, knight c6, knight c6, pawn takes c6, knight e4, then he moves, and in the end of the line the c6 pawn is not hanging. So that's why rook c1 is more clever here, rook c1 move. And he should play rook d8 to protect the queen, as we said, because after castle, knight c6, and now knight c6, knight e4 is not working. But now, because of white played bishop b5, they played rook c1 and castle, it's possible to take bishop c6, bc, and knight a4, and it's like 100 move per game, which is, I think, for only two results, all white will win or draw. But I prefer, of course, to play this kind of position with against any player in the world, because I feel very good with my two knights here, and to attack this pawn, and very bad two bishops, even it's an open position. If you remember from our previous topic, when two knights is in the center, even if it's the position is open, the bishop is not working. So we know this topic, we know these ideas, and here is weak pawns and strong knights, so white has better position. And last and most problematic line in this variation is, of course, when d takes c4 comes, because after bishop c4, c5, and here you should decide what is the best. I was checking this with computer, I checked some games, and there is no clear advantage for white, I can say. Equal or slightly small better position you get everywhere, like you can play rook d1 for example, or it's possible to play d takes c5. For example, computer's best move here is knight d7, c6, b6, and it shows that black is not bad, but okay, it is possible to play or this position, and also knight e4 move. Everywhere, if you check with computer this position, it's like equal or slightly better for white, nothing special, and it seems to be near to draw, but of course it's not draw, it's play. So I tried sometimes also d5 in rapid and blitz. I take dc sometimes, rook d1. Here is knight e4 directly positions, cd4, knight f6, queen f6, queen d4, which is, I think, like after right move bishop d7, like totally equal. But okay, you can try here many times, like take dc, knight e4, rook d1, and maybe it's possible to win. For example, I managed to win in the game in European Championship 2018 against Mirzoyan from Armenia, 2350 with white in European Championship, as I said. And according computer, white has nothing here. ed, knight d5, knight c6, castle, and not bishop g4 like he played, probably bishop e6, and it seems to be equal, b6, rook c8, but rook d1, rook c1, it's play. So there is no 100% draw here, so it's possible to play even this position. And okay, my opponent played bishop g4, I played rook d1, b6, rook fd1, and I thought that here I'm slightly better. And when he played knight e5, it's very logical, but it's bad move, because probably he missed knight e5, and he cannot take on d1 because I have knight takes f7 move. And when he takes rook f7, I take with check. After I take pawn, bishop, sorry, on d1, and then I take on f7, and white has extra pawn. And it's better for white. So that's why bishop e5, f3, bishop e6, and here I made a mistake. The best move in this position, you can mention, save it, and remember, is queen f2, which gives huge advantage for white, because now white want to push f4, like e4, and pawn structure is better for white. Knight is in the center, very good. And why queen f2 is very important, because you will see soon. I played queen c2, and he got the chance to play b5, and when I take on b5, he took on d5. And I cannot play bishop c4 because of queen h4 counterattacking on h2. So that's why after queen is on f2, it's not possible the same line. Yes, because after b5, bishop b5, and he takes, I just play bishop c4, and there is no more queen h4. And I just take on d5. That's why he got very good chance in the game to make draw here, because I played first f4 to close this chance to him to give queen h4, and then I played bishop c4. But after f4 and bishop e5 went, from there he get the chance to play queen e7, and after taking on d5 he took on e3 with check. Queen f2 he took on f4. I think the best option here to make draw was queen takes f2, king takes f2, and rook b8. Yes, rook b8, and yeah, there is like probably drawish position. And okay, bishop f4, and this rook end game we saw in previous our topic, how to play equal positions, and I will not show this very long now. It was draw, but okay, he played not so good. He played waiting moves. I will just tell who did not see the previous our topic and videos. So the best option here for black side was to move the king on that side and it was draw. But he was waiting, and I managed to do everything here. Make passed pawn, and then I managed to make rook behind the pawn, and king is going there, and I won the game. So my advice about this opening to you, it's not of course that you play it for whole your life or something like that. It's maybe for some games. Even I played 5-6 games, even if Rapid and Blitz included 10 games maybe, and it's not easy for black also. It's possible to take on f6 and play this line. And if your opponent plays b6 or he plays c6 or any other moves, rook e8 or something, after long castle and h4, g4, it's a very successful variation. You can check with computer. Only problem is like dc, bishop c4 and c5, where according computer is difficult to get advantage, but you can check this variation with your strong computers and look which position you like more, endgame or isolated pawn, like to play for example castle here or rook d1, cd, ed, and then it's possible to play rook d1, rook e1, like queen f4 and try to attack. So many possible lines is here. It's only depends which position you like more. Okay, I hope you liked this line. We finished this video with this variation, and we will come back soon with another line. Thank you very much. See you soon.